The alien coalition had ruled the stars for centuries. They were a mix of many species, each one strong, intelligent, and fearless. In their minds, fear was a flaw. They had studied countless worlds and conquered them without mercy. Civilizations fell easily before them because no one dared resist. They believed all life followed the same path. Power was everything. Fear was weakness, and survival was simple. From orbit, the coalition looked down at Earth. Kang Jae sat at his station in a small command center. His eyes moved quickly across multiple screens, showing ships and planetary data. Humans were messy and unpredictable, unlike the other worlds he had studied. Their ships were smaller, slower, and often outdated, yet they moved with determination that seemed almost chaotic. He frowned. There was something strange about them, something the coalition had never seen before. Lee Hanna, a xenolinguist and cultural analyst, watched the same data from her station. She was younger than Kang Jae, but had studied alien languages for years. "They are disorganized," she said softly, almost to herself. "But there is something in their movement that is strange. It does not match what we expect from weak species." Across the galaxy, the coalition gathered. Their leaders were confident. Earth was just another small planet with primitive technology. They had no experience with humans, but their previous victories made them sure of the outcome. A message was prepared, a simple demand for surrender. The words were direct and final. Give up your world or face destruction. The coalition expected no resistance, for no species had resisted before. Meanwhile, humanity was far from uniform. On Earth, governments were divided. Nations argued with one another, and technology was not equal across the globe. Despite these flaws, humans had a stubborn streak. They cared deeply about family, about friends, and about home. Kang Jae noticed the stubbornness when he analyzed border activity. Human ships patrolled space in small groups, sometimes sending signals that were not fully understood. Lee Hanna noted their communication style. It was noisy and emotional, but it carried determination. Kim Dae, a civilian fleet captain, prepared his small ships for patrol. He had no illusions of power, knowing that his ships were inferior to the alien coalition. Yet he moved carefully, making sure civilians were safe. Every decision he made put people first, not resources. The coalition might see this as weakness, but Kim Dae called it responsibility. The coalition's approach was confident. They sent a fleet near human colonies, expecting immediate submission. Alien ships moved in perfect formation, their technology far advanced. They watched human systems carefully, recording patterns, analyzing weaknesses. From their perspective, the humans would not last long. Their confidence was absolute. On Earth, Park Seong, a ground commander, received the coalition's message. He read it twice, noting the clarity and the threat. He did not panic. Instead, he held a meeting with his team. "We will not bow," he said simply. His words were calm but firm. The humans around him nodded. They understood the danger, yet they refused to surrender. It was not bravery in the way the aliens understood. It was a determination to survive, to protect their world no matter the cost. Choi Mira, a military coordinator, began organizing defensive strategies. The coalition expected quick compliance, but humans had already anticipated invasion. Myra's plan was not to win with strength, but to delay and confuse. Humans used their ships in unusual ways, moving unpredictably, striking where the coalition did not expect. Their tactics were messy by alien standards, but effective. Every small victory gave humans hope and frustrated the coalition. As the coalition moved closer, their confusion grew. No species had resisted like this before. Humans did not fight purely for power or conquest. They fought to protect people, homes, and ideas. Every time the coalition destroyed a human outpost, survivors found new ways to continue resistance. This behavior puzzled alien leaders. Fear was absent, but so was submission. It was a new pattern, one they had never seen. Lee Hanna worked to understand these humans. She studied their history, their literature, and their behavior. What she found surprised her even more. Humans had survived disasters far worse than anything the Coalition had faced. They rebuilt from nothing, learned from mistakes, and often became stronger because of adversity. Fear, for humans, was not weakness. It was a lesson. It taught them what mattered most. Kang Jae reviewed her reports with growing concern. The Coalition had never faced a species that turned weakness into strength. The alien leaders debated among themselves. Their language was precise, each word chosen to convey certainty. Yet they struggled to explain human behavior. Some argued that humans were simply chaotic and would eventually fail. Others, more cautious, admitted that this species was unpredictable. They had no model to predict human response. Every previous victory was useless. The Coalition felt something new, though they did not name it. Out in orbit around Earth, human fleets moved carefully. Kim Dae guided small transport ships through asteroid fields, saving as many civilians as possible. Park Seong led patrols that risked engagement with superior forces, not to destroy the enemy, but to protect human lives. Each act of sacrifice, each clever maneuver, taught the Coalition that humans were not like other species. Kang Jae recorded every movement, trying to find weakness. There was none. On the ground, Lee Hanna continued her research, speaking directly to captured alien scouts. She explained the human mindset, that survival, family, and loyalty mattered more than technology or strength. The aliens listened, confused by a perspective they could not calculate. Fear was a tool in their society, but humans used it differently. Humans did not hide from danger. They learned from it. They acted, even when threatened with death. Kang Jae and Lee Hanna stood together one night, reviewing intelligence. The stars above seemed peaceful, but both understood the tension. Humanity was messy, imperfect, and emotional, yet it had a stubborn strength. It was not the fleet's advanced weapons or their numbers that made humans dangerous. It was their will. It was something the Coalition could not predict and could not break. The Coalition sent their first warning, fleets into human space. They expected submission within hours. Instead, they met small, chaotic resistance. Transport ships escaped, civilian fleets scattered but reformed, and small patrols struck back. Every encounter taught the Coalition that humans were not just surviving, they were adapting. Kang Jae noted patterns that reminded him of ancient human battles, times when small groups of humans had resisted overwhelming forces. The Coalition had dismissed them then, and they had survived anyway. Night fell over the human command centers. The lights flickered as communication systems transmitted orders. Park Seong and Choi Myra planned the next moves carefully. Every decision was made to protect lives, even when it risked human ships. Kim Dae smiled at the young pilots under his command. They were nervous, but determined. "Do what you can," he said. "We are not afraid. We protect each other, and that is enough." From the Coalition's perspective, this behavior was madness. They had expected fear to control humans. They had expected surrender when threatened. Instead, humans acted with purpose. They feared death, yes, but they used it to fight smarter, to protect more, to endure longer. Kang Jae realized that the aliens would not understand this. The Coalition had never faced a species that used fear as a source of strength rather than weakness. The first part of this conflict ended without a true battle. The Coalition withdrew temporarily to reconsider strategy, still confident that humans would fail. Humans celebrated small victories, knowing they had survived the first contact. They did not know what the future held, but they were ready to fight. Fear was present, but it was not paralyzing. It was guiding them. In quiet moments, Li Hana and Kang Jae reflected on what they had learned. The coalition underestimated humanity. They were fast learners, resilient, and stubborn. Humans were not perfect, but their imperfections gave them an edge no one had expected. Across the galaxy, a species thought weak, disorganized, and primitive had shown the first signs of a power the coalition could not yet measure. It was only the beginning, but the first cracks of doubt had appeared in the minds of those who had never known fear. Humans were alive, and for the first time, the aliens felt uncertainty. The alien coalition expected the humans to surrender quickly, but they were wrong. The first warning fleets had returned, reporting unexpected resistance. Every encounter had been brief, yet humans had survived, adapted, and fought back in ways the coalition did not understand. The coalition gathered in their central command, puzzled by this new variable. They had never faced a species that refused to bow, no matter the threat. On Earth, Park Seong moved among his teams. The humans were nervous, but resolute. Supplies were scarce, but their determination was abundant. Choi Myra coordinated the defensive efforts from the main command center. She moved quickly, giving orders, adjusting tactics, and predicting coalition movements. Every human ship that could fly was used, every civilian trained in emergency protocols. The humans did not have the fleet size or firepower of the aliens, but they had Hart. Kim Dae guided transport ships through narrow asteroid fields and debris belts. He moved slowly, ensuring every civilian was safe. Each rescue mission was dangerous, but humans had a strange ability to improvise and survive. Alien sensors tracked these ships, yet they could not anticipate the evasive maneuvers. Kang Jae observed from orbit, noting how humans used small numbers and unexpected tactics to outsmart technologically superior forces. The coalition's first attack on a human frontier colony did not go as planned. Alien ships descended with precision, expecting the colony to fall within hours. Humans evacuated civilians, scuttled unnecessary ships, and set traps in space lanes. The aliens were surprised by the complexity of human preparation. Every time they struck, humans responded with unpredictable countermeasures. Even when humans suffered losses, they did not retreat in fear. They adjusted, learned, and returned stronger. Park Seong led a ground team to defend a key orbital station. The coalition believed humans would flee, but instead they organized defenses with limited resources. Soldiers and civilians worked together, reinforcing weak points and moving essential supplies. Park Seong knew they could not win outright, but their goal was to delay the coalition. Buying time was as valuable as a victory. In the command center, Li Hana analyzed alien patterns. "They are confused," she said. "They cannot predict human choices, because humans do not act only for survival or conquest. They act for each other." Kang Jae nodded, realizing the significance. The coalition had never faced a species that placed the protection of others above self-interest. This was a mindset that had no place in the coalition's strategies. The aliens tried to adapt. They sent fleets in larger formations, striking harder and faster. Yet the humans anticipated their moves, laying ambushes and using outdated ships in clever ways. Choi Mira used human creativity to turn weaknesses into advantages. Old ships were modified with new weapons, civilian ships disguised as decoys. And every engagement became a puzzle that the coalition could not solve. Kim Dae's transport missions became legendary among humans. He led ships through dangerous zones, rescuing civilians while evading alien patrols. Each successful run inspired others. The coalition could not understand why humans risked everything for others rather than for themselves. They calculated losses and gains, but humans did not follow those equations. Their strength came from bonds and stubbornness, not efficiency or strategy alone. The coalition's commanders began to debate. Some suggested overwhelming force, but others argued that humans were unpredictable and might cause more damage than expected. This argument had never existed in coalition history. No species had ever forced hesitation. Fear, though absent in humans, had its own effect. It created caution in the aliens, a sense that victory might not be a sure dot. As the humans resisted, small victories began to accumulate. They were not victories in the usual sense, but successes in survival, in protecting each other, and in confusing the aliens. Park Seong coordinated missions that should have failed, yet succeeded because humans were willing to sacrifice themselves to ensure others lived. The coalition recorded its first losses and failed operations against a species they considered weak. The coalition tried to communicate with captured humans, seeking answers. Lee Hanna observed these interactions carefully. Humans explained that every action was tied to loyalty, love, and responsibility. The aliens struggled to comprehend. Their society valued strength and efficiency above all, but humans valued connection. Humans did not need to conquer to win. They needed to protect. Kang Jae recorded every detail, realizing that the coalition was underestimating a key element: human unpredictability. Humans were emotional, chaotic, and stubborn. These traits, which seemed like flaws to aliens, were in fact strengths. They allowed humans to adapt quickly, take risks, and inspire others. The coalition could not calculate the human will to survive, because it was tied to something deeper than mere survival in space. Kin Dae led a risky mission to evacuate a colony under siege. Alien fleets blocked the usual routes, expecting easy captures. Kim Dae plotted a new course through asteroid fields, maneuvering through narrow gaps that should have been impossible. Human ships moved in formation, covering each other's weaknesses. Every civilian was accounted for, every ship protected. When they finally reached safe space, the coalition recorded another unexpected loss. On the ground, Park Seong coordinated defensive strikes against alien landing forces. Humans used their knowledge of terrain, traps, and guerrilla tactics. They did not aim to destroy the alien fleet, only to slow it down and protect human lives. This was a completely new form of resistance. The coalition was forced to retreat temporarily, regroup, and reconsider their strategy. Fearless and disciplined, they were unprepared for humans who acted out of emotion. Loyalty and stubborn Will Choi Myra analyzed human efforts with pride. She knew the humans would never give up easily. Every person she saw working, every civilian taking part in defense, strengthened her belief that humans could survive against impossible odds. Even as the aliens advanced technologically, humans found ways to adapt, to hide, and to strike back. Their creativity and courage were unmatched in the galaxy. The coalition's confidence began to waver. They had expected surrender, yet humans fought back every step of the way. Every loss, every unexpected tactic, every act of protection confused them. Alien commanders had never faced a species that used courage and loyalty as weapons. The humans did not need to be stronger. They needed to survive, and they did not follow the rules of engagement. This made them terrifying. Lee Hanna continued to explain human behavior to captured aliens. She emphasized the importance of love, family, and community. Humans fight for each other, not for power, she said. Kang Jae understood that this simple truth explained every unexpected human success. The coalition had no way to calculate this kind of strength. Humans were not just surviving. They were teaching the aliens a new kind of dread. By the end of the first major confrontations, humans had not defeated the coalition, but they had survived against overwhelming odds. Every victory was small but meaningful. Each act of bravery or clever maneuver left a mark on the coalition's confidence. Kang Jae realized that humans were more than stubborn. They were dangerous in a way no one had predicted, that the humans celebrated quietly. They had won no great battle, but they had survived the first real test against a far superior force. Park Seong, Choi Mira, Kim Dae, Lee Hana, and Kang Jae all understood the importance of these early struggles. They had shown that even against a universe that had never known fear, humanity would not bow. Survival, protection, and stubbornness were their weapons, and the coalition was learning slowly that this was a power unlike any other dot. As night fell on Earth, humans rested, prepared, and reflected. The alien coalition had underestimated them, and they had proven that even in the face of superior strength, humans could endure. It was not brute force that won battles, but heart, will, and loyalty. The galaxy had not yet seen the full measure of humanity's resolve, but the first signs were clear. Humans do not bow. The coalition could not understand humanity. Every encounter had shown them something new. Humans were not afraid of loss in the way the aliens expected. They fought harder when danger was greatest, protected each other fiercely, and adapted to impossible odds. Kang Jae and Lee Hana watched reports from across the front lines, realizing the full scale of human unpredictability. Lee Hana analyzed captured aliens who had interacted with human forces. She spoke slowly and clearly, explaining human customs, history, and behavior. Humans are not reckless, she told them. They do not act only for themselves. Fear does not stop them. It guides them. They learn what is worth protecting and fight for it. The aliens listened with confusion. They had never faced a species whose fear could strengthen rather than weaken them. On Earth, Park Seong prepared his teams for new missions. The humans had faced losses, yet they did not retreat. Soldiers, scientists, civilians all worked together to rebuild and improve. Choi Myra organized strikes not to destroy, but to delay and confuse. Humans used limited resources in ways no one could predict, turning weaknesses into tools. Each battle taught them new ways to survive. Every action showed determination and cunning beyond what the coalition expected. Kim Dae continued his work evacuating civilians. Alien fleets pursued him, expecting an easy target, but human ships maneuvered through asteroid fields, debris, and unexpected space hazards. Even when ships were damaged, crews improvised repairs mid-flight. Every successful escape, every clever maneuver, added to the coalition's confusion and growing concern. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability had become a weapon. The coalition began to study human history. Kang Jae uncovered records of wars, disasters, and ancient conflicts. Humans had survived plagues, civil wars, and global disasters. They had learned to fight not just for power, but for survival, for others, and for ideals. Their technology had often been inferior, yet they had adapted and overcome. This history showed a pattern that no alien model could calculate. Humans did not simply survive, they thrived despite fear, loss, and adversity. On the front lines, Park Seong led a defensive strike. Alien forces were strong, precise, and disciplined, yet humans acted unpredictably. Civilians were moved to safe zones while soldiers laid traps, created diversions, and used outdated ships creatively. Each small success confused the aliens further. Lee Hana watched from the command center, explaining, "They understand what matters most and act without hesitation. Humans fight harder when they know what they could lose." Kang Jae realized that this was the moment the coalition began to fear. Not physical fear, but the dread of uncertainty. Humans revealed new weapons, not the most advanced in the galaxy, but designed for survival and deterrence. They did not aim to dominate the coalition, only to ensure their own continued existence. When a human city was threatened, they destroyed their own facilities rather than allow the enemy to gain control. This strategy, harsh and logical in human terms, shocked the aliens. No species had acted so ruthlessly to protect life rather than gain power. Alien commanders debated intensely. Some suggested total war, annihilation of humans before they could adapt further. Others hesitated, recalling human ingenuity and adaptability. The coalition had never faced hesitation in leadership. Every species before had submitted or fallen, but humans had survived through chaos, emotion, and stubbornness. Kang Jae recorded every debate, noting the first signs of fear in the coalition. They did not fear humans themselves, but the unknown potential humans displayed. Lee Hana continued her work with captured aliens, explaining more about human culture. She spoke of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. She told them how humans grieve, yet rise stronger, how they learn from failure, and how they value each life. Aliens struggled to understand. To them, survival meant domination. To humans, survival meant connection. Fear was not a weakness, but a teacher. This idea challenged the very foundation of the coalition's understanding of life. In space, Kim Dae led another rescue mission. His team faced overwhelming enemy numbers, yet humans adapted. They used old ships with new tactics, unexpected routes, and creative strategies. Civilians were protected, even when ships were damaged or lost. Every mission taught them new ways to survive and confuse the enemy. Each act of bravery created a psychological impact on the coalition. They were learning something new. Humans did not just survive. They made their enemies fear what they could not predict. Park Seong organized a defensive operation on a frontier world. Humans set traps, ambushes, and diversions, knowing full well they could lose ground. Yet every retreat was calculated, designed to protect lives, gather intelligence, and wear down the enemy. The coalition had never faced this kind of resistance. Every human victory was small, yet psychologically powerful. It forced the coalition to rethink their approach and admit that they could be wrong. Choi Mira observed human resilience. Every time the coalition struck, humans rebuilt, learned, and adapted. There were no signs of despair, only determination. Even when supplies were low or losses were high, humans continued. Lee Hana explained, "Fear shapes humans. It teaches them what to protect, what is important, and gives them strength they do not have in peace." Kang Jae realized the weight of this truth. The coalition had never faced a species that used fear in this way. The first major human countermeasures were deployed. They were not destructive in the alien sense, but effective in survival. Humans disrupted supply lines, misled fleets, and attacked vulnerable points. These actions were calculated, courageous, and sometimes seemingly reckless. Yet they succeeded more often than failure. The coalition was learning the hard way that humans acted for reasons beyond logic or efficiency. They acted for each other. Humanity's ability to endure, adapt, and fight created a new kind of fear in the coalition: dread. It was not fear of death or pain, but fear of uncertainty, unpredictability, and moral strength. Kang Jae noted in his reports that no species had ever inspired such hesitation. The aliens were beginning to realize that humans were different, and this difference was terrifying in its own way. As humans continued their defensive strategies, alliances were strengthened. Soldiers, scientists, civilians, and commanders worked together in ways that inspired hope. Each act of courage, each successful mission, demonstrated the human ability to turn fear into strength. Park Seong led troops with clarity. Choi Mira organized defenses with creativity. Kim Dae protected civilians with skill, and Lee Hana explained the human mind to those who could not understand. Kang Jae watched, recording it all, understanding that the galaxy was witnessing something new. Human dread. By the end of this stage, the coalition had suffered significant confusion. Humans had survived, adapted, and made their enemies hesitate. No one had expected this. The aliens were learning slowly that humans were not weak or predictable. They were resilient, loyal, and driven by a unique form of courage. Fear was not absent. It was present and purposeful. Humans did not fear themselves. They feared what could be lost, and that fear made them stronger. The humans rested and prepared for the next encounters. They had survived against overwhelming odds and had shown the first signs of a power the coalition could not measure. Kang Jae and Lee Hana understood that humanity had created something the aliens could not calculate: dread. Not physical dread, but a psychological force born from love, loyalty, and determination. The coalition had learned a lesson they could not yet fully understand. Humans were not just surviving, they were teaching the galaxy a new kind of fear. The humans were not winning by sheer power, but by determination and unpredictability. They struck where the coalition did not expect, disrupting supply lines, communication networks, and strategic hubs. Each action created fear in the alien commanders. Kang Jae and Lee Hana watched reports closely, noting how human ingenuity and stubbornness were reshaping the battlefield. Park Seong led a small squad on what seemed a suicidal mission. The route was narrow. Enemy forces were stronger and faster, and the odds were against them. Yet he moved forward, knowing that success would save countless lives elsewhere. His soldiers trusted him, and they acted with courage. Every small victory, every clever maneuver, confused the coalition. Humans did not fight for conquest, they fought for survival, and for each other. Choi Mira coordinated the defense of multiple colonies simultaneously. She moved resources where they were needed most, used outdated ships in clever ways, and trained civilians to support missions. The coalition had never encountered a species that used every available person and resource with such purpose. Even when humans lost ground, they gained knowledge and experience. Each encounter made them stronger, more resilient, and more terrifying to the aliens. Kim Dae led a convoy through enemy-controlled space. Alien patrols expected easy victories, but human ships moved unpredictably, using asteroid fields and debris belts for cover. Damage was repaired mid-flight, and each mission completed successfully. The coalition began to understand that humans valued life and loyalty above all else, and this made them difficult to predict. Their strategy was not just about attack or defense. It was about survival and protection. The coalition tried to overwhelm human forces with superior numbers and firepower. Yet humans anticipated many attacks, using misdirection, ambushes, and diversionary tactics. They were clever, resourceful, and unafraid to risk themselves to protect others. The aliens had never faced a species that acted with this kind of courage and creativity under pressure. Kang Jae recorded every event, noting the growing hesitation in the alien command. Lee Hana explained human behavior to captured aliens. She told them that humans fight hardest when they are cornered and when what they love is threatened. Fear does not paralyze humans. It strengthens them. Each human act of resistance, each clever maneuver, each sacrifice was a lesson in how determination and loyalty could shape a battle. The aliens struggled to understand, as their species relied on pure strength and calculation. On a frontier world, Park Seong led a strike against an alien supply station. The odds were slim, yet the humans executed the plan with precision. Some ships were lost, but the goal was achieved. Supplies were destroyed, slowing the coalition and giving humans more time to prepare defenses elsewhere. Every successful strike reinforced the belief that humans could survive, adapt, and resist. The coalition had not seen such resilience in any species before. Choi Mira managed civilian evacuations while organizing counterattacks. Every person, every resource, every ship was used to its full potential. The humans had no expectation of easy victory. They were prepared to sacrifice, to endure, and to fight with every ounce of strength. The coalition began to experience a new sensation: dread. Not physical fear, but the realization that humans could not be controlled, predicted, or broken easily. Kim Dae executed another high-risk rescue operation. The convoy moved through enemy territory, dodging attacks, repairing ships, and protecting civilians. Each mission added to the coalition's confusion and frustration. Humans did not retreat in fear. They advanced with courage and adaptability. Every small success became a psychological weapon against the aliens, who had never faced this kind of mental and emotional strength. The coalition held emergency meetings. Commanders argued, debated, and reconsidered strategies. Some suggested total annihilation, while others warned that humans were too unpredictable to risk. This hesitation was unprecedented. The aliens had never feared a species in this way. Kang Jae realized that the humans' ability to fight for each other, to endure fear, and to act with purpose created a new kind of power that the coalition could not calculate or predict. Lee Hana continued to work with captured aliens, emphasizing human loyalty and courage. She explained that fear does not make humans weak. It teaches them what to protect, what to value, and how to act. The aliens listened, confused and alarmed. They had never faced a species that could transform fear into strength, and that could use emotional bonds as a strategic advantage. In space, human fleets struck quickly and unpredictably. They disrupted alien communications, attacked supply lines, and harassed high-value targets. Each operation was designed not to conquer, but to survive and protect others. The coalition's confidence began to falter. No species had ever caused such hesitation. Fear of the unknown, of unpredictability, had entered their calculations, and it paralyzed them in ways they had never experienced. Park Seong and his teams moved from mission to mission, always anticipating enemy moves. Choi Mira coordinated resources, Kim Dae protected civilians, and Lee Hana explained human culture and strategy to those who could not understand. The humans did not seek victory through domination. They sought survival through resilience and unity. Every successful operation reinforced the coalition's growing dread. By the end of these campaigns, humans had not conquered the coalition, but they had forced it to pause, to reconsider, and to respect human unpredictability. Every victory was small, but meaningful. The coalition experienced fear in a form they had never known: uncertainty, unpredictability, and the recognition of human strength in courage, loyalty, and determination. As humans rested and prepared for the next phase, the galaxy began to notice. Other civilizations watched human tactics, learning that even against superior forces, a determined species could resist, adapt, and survive. Kang Jae and Lee Hana understood that the coalition had been taught a lesson. Humans were not just a species to be dominated. They were a force of will, and their dread inspired caution, respect, and fear across the stars. The humans had shown the first true measure of power beyond technology, beyond numbers, and beyond brute force. They had taught the galaxy that courage, loyalty, and the will to protect could be stronger than any weapon. The coalition's leaders were forced to admit it. Humans were dangerous in ways they had never imagined, and the galaxy would never see the same kind of fear again. Humans had created dread, and it was only growing stronger. The humans had survived the coalition's attacks and shown strength the aliens could not predict. They had not conquered through numbers or technology, but through courage, loyalty, and willpower. Kang Jae reviewed the reports from the front lines. Humans had forced hesitation, confusion, and now even fear in the alien commanders. The coalition began to rethink everything they knew about warfare. Lee Hana worked tirelessly to explain human culture and strategy to captured aliens. She described how humans fight not for domination, but to protect what they love. She spoke of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice, teaching the aliens that fear could be transformed into strength. The coalition struggled to understand, as their systems relied on dominance and efficiency. Humans had shown a new kind of power, one that no technology could measure or overcome. On Earth, Park Seong and his teams prepared for the final negotiations. The humans had not been defeated, but the coalition had suffered significant setbacks. Humans continued to protect civilians, evacuate vulnerable areas, and maintain communication. Each mission was precise, purposeful, and courageous. The coalition realized a human strategy was not about destruction, it was about survival. And this survival instinct was a weapon in itself. Choi Myra organized defensive measures while coordinating counterattacks. She ensured that civilians were protected and that resources were used efficiently. Humans had learned to turn every disadvantage into an opportunity. Even when facing superior technology and numbers, they adapted, survived, and inflicted unexpected losses on the aliens. Kim Dae continued to lead evacuations, ensuring that no life was left behind. Every successful mission reinforced the human advantage. Courage guided by care, the coalition finally sought dialogue. They sent emissaries to Earth, requesting ceasefire. Kang Jae and Lee Hana monitored the communications. The aliens admitted they could not understand humans, and that humans had taught them dread. For the first time, the coalition acknowledged uncertainty and respect. The humans had not used brute force to win. They had used determination, courage, and loyalty to survive and to make their enemies pause. Park Seong and Choi Mira led the humans in welcoming the alien delegates under strict conditions. The humans demonstrated that they were willing to negotiate, but they would never be intimidated. The coalition was forced to respect human determination and resilience. Kang Jae understood that this was a turning point. Humans had shown that strength was not only measured by numbers or technology, but by courage, will, and the protection of what is valuable. Lee Hana facilitated the first dialogue between humans and the coalition. She explained human values, their commitment to each other, and the way fear could inspire action rather than paralysis. The aliens struggled to understand, but they listened. The humans had taught them something new, that a species could turn fear into a weapon, a shield, and a motivation for survival. This lesson changed the galaxy's perception of humanity. Humans did not conquer the coalition worlds. Instead, they established respect through resilience and moral strength. They did not destroy, but they survived and influenced. Across the galaxy, civilizations began to recognize that humans were not a species to corner or underestimate. The humans' courage, loyalty, and determination had created dread without killing millions, without overwhelming power. It was a subtle, terrifying form of control, the knowledge that humans would fight, adapt, and survive when all seemed lost. Kim Dae led a final convoy through coalition territory, evacuating civilians and demonstrating human skill, courage, and determination. Park Seong coordinated operations that ensured no human life was lost unnecessarily. Choi Mera oversaw logistics and training, showing that humans could maintain cohesion under extreme pressure. Every mission was an example of strategy, loyalty, and the human spirit. Kang Jae watched, realizing that this was not just survival. It was a demonstration of psychological strength that reshaped the galaxy. The coalition formally signed a ceasefire. They admitted that they could not understand humanity and that humans had shown them dread. Aliens from every species within the coalition recorded the lesson carefully. Humans fight hardest when cornered, and they protect what is important above all else. They had learned a new kind of respect and fear, unlike anything they had experienced before. Kang Jae and Lee Hana reflected on how human values and determination could inspire change, even without massive armies or overwhelming power. Humans did not seek to conquer the galaxy. Instead, they became a reminder, a species that cannot be broken, that uses fear as a source of strength, and that fights to protect what is loved. Across the stars, civilizations taught their young the first lesson about humans. Never take away what they care about. Never underestimate them, and never assume they will be afraid. Humanity had shown a new form of power, subtle yet undeniable, one that would shape the galaxy for generations. Park Seong, Choi Mai-ra, Kim Dae, Kang Jae, and Lee Hana gathered one last time in the command center. They understood that humans had survived against overwhelming odds and created a lasting impact. Their courage, resilience, and unity had forced even the most advanced and confident species in the galaxy to recognize dread, respect, and fear in a way they had never known. Humanity's lesson was clear. Even in a universe without fear, the human spirit could create it, and that was a power beyond measure.